At Montgomery College, connection and belonging can take many forms. It can be a smile in class or telling a funny story. When we first arrived, many of us thought friendships would come quickly, but a real connection turned out to be something deeper. Sharing personal stories with narration, music, and visuals eventually became our platform for sharing our voices with others. We are the Fall 2025 Digital Storytelling Internship Cohort, and this is a story about how digital storytelling connected us to the MC community.
During my first semester MC, I imagined tons of friends right away. I imagined being really social and always hanging out with people, but it didn't happen like that. I mostly just went to class and went home, not really connecting with anyone. It was a kind of a lonely time, and not all I expected. I thought it would be easier to meet people and make friends, but it turned out to be harder than I thought to find my place at MC. So Steph, did your MC experience live up to your initial expectations?
All my classes were in person, and I tried being as outgoing as possible. Despite that, I only made one friend who I still talk to now. The following semester was when COVID happened. All classes were moved to Zoom, and making friends became harder. Thanks to one of my classes being on Discord, I was able to make a friend during this time. COVID protocols were calming down, but by then my friends and I all got busier. When we hung out, it was mainly through Discord calls and playing games together. I hoped that I could find some new friends when I started on-campus classes again, but I had no luck.
My first impression was a weight of anxiety I could feel in my clammy hands. I've always struggled with being open to others, especially about hard stories that need to be told. Once I joined the cohort, I felt a sense of exposure that I was not familiar with. I started to become more comfortable with how it's set up, and with amazing friends to work with, I was able to share some of my more dark and hidden stories in a way that didn't feel exploitative. I realized we're all humans trying to make a connection so we don't feel alone in such a black and white world. There's room for nuances, and this is a safe space for me to be creative in my own way without feeling restricted. I grew up being seen and not heard, but digital storytelling amplifies my voice, and if anything, it's been the most freeing feeling in the world.
My first class at MC was English 101, and my professor assigned a digital story early on. I created a story about 21st century Hollywood because I love everything pop culture. I was just too shy to tell anyone. Once I finished my story, I reluctantly showed my classmates. To my surprise, they loved my story for what it was, a piece of myself. Likewise, I loved my classmates' stories about their culture, interests, and values. I'll admit it, I have a mild case of social anxiety, so I'm glad I had a safe space to share my own interests. I'm grateful I got to do a digital story, although not every student gets assigned a digital story. So VA, yes, you VA, how did you discover digital storytelling?
I wasn't introduced to digital storytelling through an assignment in my class. I've always written reviews for music and TV, as well as creating collages in Photoshop. I always just did that stuff as a passing interest, a means to an end for putting my thoughts out there. Or, in Photoshop's case, making many pretty lock screens. I did that so much. And while staying at that level is valid, I wanted to take my skills and apply them to bigger projects. To make videos on niche topics I cared about. Albums where I could apply my own musical knowledge. Or even be good enough to get a job for any of these skills. But when you compile school and my responsibilities at home, it can be hard to find time to pursue any of these dreams. That's when my LGBT studies professor, Lucy, recommended I apply to digital storytelling. And I was accepted based off of my previous work. Digital storytelling provided me with an avenue to be creative on campus. And when given the chance to use those skills and be valued for them, I felt the drive to keep creating, especially when I got to work alongside other creatives like me.
Similar to beginning school, I came into digital storytelling with expectations, and I admit that I did have my guard up. I felt nervous to finally open my life up to the minds of others. I remember sitting in our first professional development meeting and latching onto the words as they came across the screen. Buried narratives. Write about your hidden story that needs to be told. That prompt was the one I chose for this year's individual digital story, and the decision that marked my push out of my comfort zone. Walking into the story circle the next week, I had sweaty palms and a familiar ache in my stomach that arises whenever I'm unsure. I was going to share my story with 6 people I met 2 weeks prior, and for some reason, it just felt kind of right. Encouraging myself to look over at my fellow interns, I began to pour my heart out. I felt safer and more relaxed with every head nod that met back my words with understanding. In that moment, I didn't just share my story, I claimed it. What once felt uncomfortable became the space where I not only grew, but stepped into my confidence.
I agree with you, Caitlin. I feel especially supported and accepted when I share my personal story in the digital storytelling internship cohort. Since English is my second language, I often feel vulnerable when trying to express my thoughts and opinions. Even small signs of impatience or irritation can make me want to stop talking or disappear completely. But in this group, I realized that everyone has their own insecurities. We all share a bit of vulnerability, and that connects us. It makes this space feel truly safe and comfortable. A place where we can speak honestly and be ourselves.
Fanta.
VA.
Steph,
Sarah.
Sebastian.
Caitlin,
Nina.
And
we are the Digital Storytelling Interns!